Today, on Running to Him, we need both strength and wisdom to successfully fight in our Christian battles. If you're joining us in going through Proverbs, today's reading is Proverbs 20, verses 14 through 30, and we will concentrate on verses 22 and 29. Proverbs 22 and 29 say this: "Do not say, 'I will repay evil.' Wait for the Lord, and he will save you. The glory of young men is his strength, and the honor of old men is their gray hair." Now, I wanted to tie these two verses together, not because they fit through parallels or that was logical, but because they reflect the attitudes which are seen in youth and in age. Even though I began my collegiate career late in life, I was 27 when I began college and 35 when I received my master's degree, I was on the young side of the maturity scale. I tended to be impulsive and depend on what I was feeling rather than what was reality. Now, that's not to say that I was wrong and inept in what I did, but things could have been different if I'd sometimes looked before I leapt. Mr. Houston was my favorite professor in college. I had him for 3 classes, and each one taught me principles and truths which I don't think I could have found elsewhere. Mr. Houston was my opposite. While I was impetuous, he was determined. While I acted on the spur of the moment, he acted carefully and with forethought. He was immensely fair and just. Now, in my class on Matthew, he asked a question on a test in Matthew 7, 1 through 13. This is the Transfiguration. This was an essay question, and I quickly flipped open my Bible and found what I thought was the passage. And I wrote 1.5 pages explaining the passage. I felt I had nailed the test. Unfortunately, in my swiftness and lack of observation, I failed to realize I had chosen not only the wrong chapter, but the wrong verses. I wrote about Matthew 15, verses 21 through 28. Now, Mr. Houston complimented me on my discussion of the verses, but gave me a 0 for the question. I had been impetuous without checking my work. Mr. Houston was patient with my error, but bold in his response. Now, young men don't worry about charging up a hill in battle. Young men don't look to an alternative solution. Young men act on their emotions and hormones. Old men know better. They are not afraid of battle, but they know which battle is to be fought and how to win it. As a young Christian, I took several senior people to task in the Army about a certain subject. I knew what was right and knew they were wrong. I wasn't going to let them get away with what they were doing. I could win the battle, and I did, but I lost the war. We need young men and women Christians who are willing to charge ahead and fight the battles. Equally important, though, is we need older men and women Christians who are willing to direct the troops. The wars are won not because someone was more impulsive, but because that impulsivity was mitigated by planning and patience. Now, there's one other thing about Mr. Houston. He had the most striking head of white hair I had ever seen. Thank you for listening. We pray that today's devotion was meaningful to you. We would love to hear from you. You can use either Facebook or YouTube to like, subscribe, share, and tell others about us. If you would like to contact us, you can reach me at phineasjacobus@runningtohim.net.